All right, howdy, folks. Welcome back. I told you I would be back. Let me kill up music and that, and let's get this show on the road. All right. So, we got our little thumbnail holding up right here, and let that sit there for a second and let you kind of look at what's going on there for people with eyes to see. Okay, in the meantime, while this is going to start loading up, take a moment here to thank you guys for taking a moment of your precious time to be here with this precious family. Okay, let's see if we need to adjust just a tad bit there. Okay. All right, so as you can see, here we are, November 14th, 2024, and you can see that we have quite the blast going off today. Our X 4.5, all right, the biggest X flare we've had in quite a while, all right, and it's came off like this region. If there were the sun, it would be like this part right about here. Okay, so it's coming our way. We're going to get part of this CME. Okay, all right, so let's capture the opening frame here, and we'll pick this apart frame by frame. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, so here we are. Opening frame is already 2 hours and 24 minutes of missing data. All right, the tail end of this event right here that we saw already. And we can see some of the trailing little moons and satellites that are still going along with it here. All right, they're very faint, but they move out of frame there. Okay, you can see our teardropped shape, and the plasma trailing back here. Okay, so let me scooch this down just a tad bit better so we can get more screen, and I can still use the button. Well, sometimes these satellites make them glitch. All kinds, or the power of the CME can make them glitch. They take out frames. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but hey, let's just take what we got, okay? And you can see trailing moons right here, this little black one and another one right here, and the third one back in there. All right, this little 3-pack here trailing along the back side of a bigger object down here. All right, you can see the rim of the bigger object down below there. And these are just off the surface. They're trailing right above it. Okay, and they got plasma attached to them. And as that event moves on out, then you see this bending light, this stream or jet of plasma coming out and bending. All right, so we have an object around there somewhere. The trail is still bending light. Then comes our big event. Boom. Boom. Okay. In this frame right here, we don't get to see our bigger object in the background. It's so draped with plasma right here, it's actually white. It's just the whole object is covered in plasma right here. So it's kind of blinded the camera. You can see how it comes out, hits, and changes direction and goes over, all right? And this one's really hard to pull apart because there's multiple objects. It looks like there's one big one, but there's a couple, like one here, and then a second bigger one up in here. What I want to do is take you over to stereo A here in a minute, but let's go ahead and see. We don't have much data on this one, 1648, and it's already out of the frame. But you can see one of the little trailing moons trailing along, little satellites or whatever. Okay, so what I want to do is take you over to stereo A really quick. Pull this up because Oh, can you see it now? I love stereo A. I miss this little satellite. All right, this little satellite and me go way back. Boom. Do you see your objects, your little moons that are trailing along here, okay? Let me see if we can get a good. There's a good frame right there, wouldn't you say? Okay, let's zoom in on that. Pull it over, slide it up. Gee, wonder what's causing this. Could it be this round spheroid black object right here that's all draped in plasma, that's ripped plasma off, pulling it out, stretching it out? Probably one of the moons or satellites that are trailing the bigger object, but clearly can see there. Yeah, I missed Stereo B too. Stereo B got taken out right in 2017 when all this started happening, probably because of the object itself. Stereo B is still out there, but the satellite images are being glitched, so it still sends back other data, but no more images. Otherwise, you can see other little ones trailing along. This one back here. And what I need to do is I need to dim this a little bit because it seems to blind the camera. All right, now when we kind of tilt this back a little bit, you can see our other trailing ones. This one here, that one there. There seems to be something here. Another one with plasma. You see the round back side of it right here. So probably another one right there. Okay, and this is not just like Planet X or whatever. There's a lot of these objects, okay? It's not just one or two. There's a lot of these. Okay, let me go ahead and brighten this back on up here. Okay, so not every time do we get like a good image over on these difference models. So sometimes we capture stuff over here on Stereo A. And you can see some of the other little trailing moons that went along with it. Oh, excuse me. All right. Good thing it wasn't a heart attack. All right. You guys felt the energy squeezing your heart lately? All right. We need to come back to this here because there's another little hidden event in this. And now what I want to talk about is right after our big event, one of the little moons gets torn off and hangs out here for a second and has plasma drape over it. And we're just going to go ahead and, oh, there's Jeff Williams. Glad you made it. Good. Stick around, bud. We got a show for you. All right, I'm talking about this one right here, just under my arrow. It comes out, hangs out there for a second, and then gets torn away and pulls back. So, boom, hangs out for a second and then pulls back. I'll take the arrow out of the way now that you can see what I'm talking about. Straighten this up and dim it. Okay, so these bigger objects have a bunch of satellites, a bunch of little moons, and they magnetically get pulled off of the bigger object for a while by the sun. And they hang out there for a second, and then boom, keep heading on out. Yeah, it's not random stuff, Jeff. That's why I invited you over here so you can see a little bit more. Okay? Anyways, there's this little moon that got pulled off of the bigger one, okay? And it's hanging out right there and then drapes away, okay? So these cores, these are stellar cores, the core of a dead planet or dead star. Okay, and they're black. They're so dense that they bend and absorb light. They don't reflect light. You can't see them because they don't reflect light. Light cannot escape from them. They're like dark matter, okay? And as here, we'll pull this up for our new family member here. And let me just get that one image. Oh, it was over on Stereo A. And really quick here, Stereo A for Jeff here. Yeah, no one will talk about this, and everyone thinks I'm crazy too. But hey, guess what? They're the ones who are in the dark and in denial, all right? We don't play that kind of game over here, dark and denial, all right? We'll deal with the truth here, and it's very ugly and hard to deal with. So you better have a strong spiritual foundation too when we come over here. All right, but what I wanted to show him really quick was just these objects when they're captured. And just zoom in really quick here one more time because I think you arrived just a tad bit late. Whoops, we zoomed in just a couple dimensions too tight. Right there's probably pretty good. All right, you can see a round spheroid black object right here. The lens on this camera paints everything yellow, red, the background red and everything, but these objects are dark. Here's all this plasma out there, and then we have these dark circles. How come the plasma is not all nice and smooth here, but then we have these dark patches? Well, that's because these things absorb light and they leave a dark patch. Here, right there. Here, let's pull back just a tad bit. If it looks fuzzy here, it's because we're too zoomed in. Do you see this round spherical object right there? Okay, it has a magnetic field around it, and then there's plasma draped to the magnetic field of it. Okay, and you can't see these objects with the naked eye. You can only see them when they interact with the sun, and plasma drapes over them, painting them, much like an invisible table. You can't see an invisible table, but if you throw a tablecloth over it, well, it's going to drape over the corners and the edges and paint the contour of your invisible object. Well, these things don't reflect light, so you can't see them, making them invisible until draped or painted with plasma. Okay, and trust me, NASA doesn't want you guys knowing all of this stuff either, because you're gonna, well, they can't hide it here much longer. So, anyways, there's that object right there, just one of many. Okay, and then when we get later on in the show, I'll show you much better examples that are a lot, well, scarier. And I don't, not to scare you, but they're just very, it's something you got to kind of gradually walk into. Okay. Okay, so over here at Solar Ham, our solar flux indices at 172. We've dropped 14 points. That's good. We're coming down. I'll take anything that's receding. You know, we had this big X flare right here, and now we're coming way down here, almost to the floor of the sea range, what I call the sea floor. Okay. But meanwhile, we're at 172 in the cautionary, down 4 points. Sunspot numbers are 136. We're in the green. 9 more, but that's probably some of the little trailing satellites that are still yet to fire off or interact with the sun. Area is 750. We're in the green. Let's go ahead and pull this up really quick and zoom on in. Just really quick. Whoops, I need 200 on that. Sorry. Bear with me and bounce all around here. Okay, so over here, 3814 was giving us, headaches for a long time. It's finally departing towards the limb. All this region departing off the limb. The only one, 3824 right here, not too intense. This one petering out as well. But here's our monster. Here's this region, 3825. Now that we've seen our big X4.5 come out of that region, this sunspot was induced, and that whole event was induced by that object or pack of objects. We have a very complex magnetic configuration here. What I'm going to do is pull in a little tighter here. Okay, blue and red pretty close together here. Blue and red here too. We have a blue spot surrounded with red on both sides. Okay, so very different magnetic complex here. Okay, probably the result of one of these objects being magnetically configured this way, and another one just next to it probably hooked this way. So they're kind of hooked together by a familiar spot, or they're sharing this polarity. We'll have to watch this, but I think it's going to diminish now that our big sunset or our big event came out of there. Okay. Our big object is past now, and these compass needle or these little spire regions that point off like this, these little white streaks that come off like that, they tend to point at these inbound objects. They act like compass needles. It's pulling plasma off the sun. You see these streaks? This isn't shooting out of the sun, it's being pulled off of the sun. And these streaks act like compass needles pointing at another inbound object or something that's further out interacting with it. Okay. And then, so I think our event's over. We'll see. We'll watch it closely, but it's got a very complex configuration, beta, gamma, delta, probably. All right. So let me just back on out of that, back, slide to the right, and roll down. And let's see how fluxed we are. X-ray fluxed, that is. Okay, so here's your 4.5 x 4.5 event today. Boom, 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 boom. What are the objects? The objects are the burned out cores of the core of a burned out planet or the core of a burned out star. The bigger objects seem to be the core of a star. The star that has eaten the other planets around it and has just the cores orbiting the core of the star that used to be. It's almost like little solar systems or something that have been, devoured by their host star. Okay. I got all kinds of definitions. I got one object out there that I can show you at the end of this report that matches some definitions, a lot of definitions, okay? And we'll talk astrophysics after this, okay? But we got to finish the report here, so I'm going to move on. We'll save questions until the end. Well, you can continue to ask them, but I'm going to keep going. So we'll pull them back now. All right, now what we need to talk about here is our 3-day geomagnetic forecast, okay? Nothing for the 15th, but I don't believe that. We'll have to go 3 days before the 15th and see what came off the sun that day. Meanwhile, on September 16th, they're predicting a G3. Okay, not a G2. They're predicting a G3. And you know that some of these things, these events have been stronger than predicted. And it's because of these accompanying objects. They retain a lot of the radiation themselves. So when the CME misses us, well, the object's still headed in our trajectory and passes by our magnetic field, giving us an unexpected geomagnetic storm out of nowhere, which is not really unexpected here at this channel. And I just explained why. So this is going to wreak havoc with our weather, okay? G3, geomagnetic enhancement of our weather, okay? And still G2 possibly on the 17th. And that's just what they're predicting, okay? Lord knows what we're going to get, all right? Hopefully less. You know me. I do not like these geomagnetic storms at all. The Earth is way overcharged. We do not need any more of this. There is going to be huge results from, if we get a G3 impact, there are going to be huge results. Volcanoes, earthquakes, we're already seeing it, okay? And we'll get into that part later on in the show here. So we're going to keep this around in the back of your mind, on the back burner, when we do our weather report tonight, okay? So meanwhile, X flare potential 25%, M flare 75. The D layer, we're having an absorption event, okay, a proton absorption event. There was a red impact over America. I tried to pull it up on the D layer map, but it's already been booted off. The data's already been booted off. So just because it keeps updating so quickly that, anything that's after 5 hours old is already off the map. D-Res, good to see you, bud. Do you think the universal signs can predict Trump's victory? We have to talk about that later on in the spiritual report, okay? Not necessarily politics, but what probably isn't going to happen, okay? Back to this though, our X 4.5, all right, came off the AR 3825. That's that complex one that we were just looking at. So now that it's done, it should start to decline, okay? Meanwhile, we had M3, 2.9, 54, 23 in the last day, or just the one M3 today, and then these other three yesterday. Also over here, your right now, your geomagnetic field and your auroras are kind of mild right now. Okay, we're KP3 or whatever, so not too bad. But we're expecting, you saw over at wages, the big red band going through there. We're expecting red on September 16th. Okay, so everybody hold on, brace for impact, and that'll have absorption effects down to our core, which will then heat and then swell and start to grind on the shell. It's the outer core, and that spinning dynamo inside the outer core is what produces our magnetic field. All right, it's like that spinning little motor, little electric motor, that little shaft. If it stops spinning, well, then the magnetic field drops. Get it? Kind of understand how it works there? All right, let's move on here. So we're going to be getting another KP event, probably a long duration one, especially if we're going to be getting up to KP or a G3 storm. Okay, so everybody hold on tight. Here we go. It's gonna get bumpy. Just like the title of this, Gonna Get Bumpy. Meanwhile, yeah, here we are, beta gamma delta for your 3825. It's stable now. Okay, it's no longer growing, and it'll be declining soon, I bet, because that event is already past now. Okay. Over here, major X 4.5 flare was produced by AR 3525 or 3825 on September 14th of 2024. The event was associated with a fast-moving halo coronal mass ejection. Fast-moving halo coronal mass ejection means it's coming part of it our way. Although the eruption is directly mostly to the east, the western flank of the plasma cloud, it does appear Earth-directed. A passage past Earth will be possible within 48 hours, and I would expect a geomagnetic storm watch to be added later today for September 16th. So, boom, it was added to G3. There might even be something added here. We'll come back and take a little peek at that when we take a little peek at this as well. Continuing on, we got to come over really quick. I want to pop up this little movie here for you guys and just take a look at the duration, how long this event is. And then finally ends. Okay? It's not just like a pop and then gone. There's the plasma leaving, but it's still shaking and trembling. It's still jolting. It's like you stuck a fork in the wall outlet, and it shocked you, and you pulled the fork out, but there's still an arc. There's still a little plasma coming off the fork to the wall, still going bzzz. So that's a long duration one right there. And what I'm going to tell you is where the location of this spot is. Play this, please, and just pause right there. I don't need all that on there. I want that off, please, Lord. Thank you. Anyways, this region is now on this side of the limb. Okay, if it went away from us, then we wouldn't be getting anything. Anything that's past the limb that's on this is going to be heading our way. Even if the blast comes this way, it radiates out in a circular fashion. All right, 360 degrees, except for going back towards the sun. All right, so if it's within our vision, it's on this side of the limb right there. Part of that, if the light from that hit us, I guarantee you some of the CME is going to hit us. Okay, so let's pull back out of that. Come on, open the tracker, and we'll take a little peek at what they're tracking. We're lacking some tracking, so let's do some track-a-lacking. That does not look the same as this. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, good. Let me just go ahead and load this up so we can kind of control this and not just watch it flail back and forth. Okay, impacted Earth right here between 16 and 17. This is your density. Here's your velocity. Let's just pause it right on impact. Boom. Okay, so right at its impact, midway through the 16th, you can see it's not going north or south of us. Most of it's going to go, right to the south, but it's still hitting us. Okay. And even you see it splitting here. It doesn't matter. If the light hit us, part of this is going to hit us. All right. So let me just go ahead and finish and let that play. Let it play a couple of times. And then we also have to keep this in mind. when we're doing our weather forecast because the geomagnetic storm enhances cloud nucleation. Okay. So when you have enhancement of your nucleation, your storms, your predicted storms are going to be a lot stronger than what they predicted. Okay, so there's your impact around 1500 here on the 16th. All right, backing on out. All right, also let's take a peek at this one too. I like this one. Give it a sec here. It's going a little slow here. Kind of like our newscasters, our people in the media. They're just a little slow. Take a few clicks to open them up. Well, it's not going to open up, but you can see it's basically got a similar trajectory. You know where Earth is. You know it's going to get the very side swipe of it. Okay. I pray that we don't get any. All right. I don't want to see any more energy added to the Earth, but we're going to get a glancing blow, especially when you look at it from here. You can see our bigger object in the flow asymmetries of it. Okay. And then I'm going to come over to another, and I'll show you a better image of our bigger object. What is the intelligence behind it? Jeff, you need to stick around. We can't just answer that so simply. Okay. It's a very simple answer, but a complex way to have to answer the unbelievable. Okay. This is yesterday's article. We can move on. Let's continue. Just hang out. You'll see. We get to the spiritual report. You'll see how all this stuff ties in. You'll go, oh, now I get it. All right. Over here, strong geomagnetic storm predicted. A CME hurled into space by today's X 4.5 solar flare will graze Earth on September 16th, according to NASA models. All right. This one is very fast moving, so it could possibly get here faster than our 3-day gap. Okay. This is one that I agree would be arriving sooner than 3 days because of its speed. Okay. So here we go. A CME, no forecasters are predicting a strong G3 class geomagnetic storm when the CME arrives. During the G3 storms, auroras can sometimes be seen with the naked eye from mid-latitudes. Okay, we all know that. Significant X-class solar flare, new sunspot AR 3825, erupted again today, producing a very strong 4.5. Okay, but this positioning of it. All right, if it was on the limb, most of it would be going away. It's past the limb. It's going to be striking. If we can see it, we're getting some. Okay. Radiation from the flare ionized the top of Earth's atmosphere. There's an indicator. If it struck Earth's atmosphere, it's definitely heading our way, resulting in a deep shortwave radio blackout. Okay. The explosion also hurled CME into space, and NASA model confirms that it has an Earth-directed component. NASA model confirms Earth-directed component. Okay. Everybody brace for impact on the 16th. Okay. Earth's ring currently leaking. All right. I'll explain why everybody thinks it's leaking. It's not leaking. Your core is grinding on the shell and the magnetic field is getting dim. It's weakening and cracks form, little weak bands form, and plasma will ride the IMF line right through our magnetic field and give us a good jolt. Okay. So now to our Schumann. Okay. The Schumann that I usually use has been down for quite a while now. Okay. And they haven't refreshed it. It's still the same old image. This is another Schumann resonance instrument. Not water, but it's you'll get, when we get there, you'll see. Well, it's not a vacuum. It's not a perfect vacuum. There is vacuumness to it, but it's not water. All right. Anyways, over here at this Schumann, this one's upside down and very weird. So what I got to do really quick, just to kind of explain to you, you're all used to seeing the other Schumann chart, right? Okay, well, this one's broken up differently. This is actually upside down. Our graph, the top of our graph, when we're used to seeing our lines coming down, well, this is the top. down here at the bottom. So our streaks that we would be looking for are going up instead of coming down from the top. All right. So these are your streaks popping up. All right. Little grinding here, little grinding there. All right. And this instrument goes up to 80. Okay. So we're used to seeing, whoops, get off of there. We're used to seeing about this much of the graph upside down. Now we're getting the rest of the frequencies a little more, okay? So basically turn this upside down. You can see our little, came off the, pretty strong right there. Signs of grinding as we, take on pressure. The pressure energy hits the magnetic field, gets directed to the poles. The poles then absorb it down to the core, where the core, being metal, heats up. And when metal heats, it expands and swells. Okay, the core will expand in diameter and swell. Well, it's spinning inside there, and if it swells and gets bigger, the shell also gets hot and wants to expand as well. It wants to expand outward, and there's magma and all kinds of stuff on top of it, and then a crust holding all that magma on top of it, which prevents the outer core from expanding outward. So when it heats, it's a metal substance too, so it wants to expand outward but can't. So the only way it can expand is back down inward onto the core itself. So you got the core expanding outward while the shell is expanding down inward, and they start to grind on each other. And that grinding produces these ultra low frequencies. They start rocking your world, okay? And it's driving people nuts. Well, so's the media, but and all the lies. But here's a little example of your thing. All right, so here's the last little chunk. Let me give you, if you tilt your head all the way to the left, you can see it says September 14th, 6:01. And these are like 6-hour chunks on this one. Okay, so there's 12 to 6. All right, and then 6 to whatever the end, and then there's your latest data. But what I want to kind of do is scroll back down here. Look at this. Okay, now this is way off the charts. Remember, our chart stops it right here. This one extends and shows you those lines, how further down they go. This is just inverted, okay? So these streaks would go off the page, and this is where they continue, and then they go off the page on this instrument as well. Okay, so these are some really intense grinding sessions back on the 12th, okay? So that was a couple of days ago. All right, so we have to do all the zooming and scrolling for this one, and it's not really worth it because we don't really get to see our true readings very clearly like the other instrument. But up in that last little box, these tiny little white lines are a little indication we had some grinding, okay? Some things released. We had volcano or earthquake SO2 emissions that relieve pressure down below. So there's our kind of junky Schumann report, all right? Now let's get on over to this. Let me make sure my brightness is up here. I guess I'm not all that bright. I get it. I'm not sure what you were talking about, but if you think about moving into space, it is similar to moving into water in the sense that if things are not sealed, you lose air and you die. Okay. All these questions are very interesting. I love your questions, and I love your concepts and stuff and your answers, but I hate to break it to you, it doesn't matter. All those questions, there's another truth, another ultimate truth, that when you see that, you're going to go, oh yeah, none of that stuff matters. Meanwhile, here we are off the coast of China, another huge typhoon. I showed you the other night. It was brewing off here, off our hotspots, right? Bingo. China better pay attention. Anyways, so, oh, there's Eric. All right, glad you made it. Okay, so China about to get hit with a typhoon. We're just checking out vortexes right now, okay? Here's another one growing down here. Another one going over here. Another one going over here. This is the one that keeps throwing all the SO2 up against the Himalayas there and recycling that SO2 over and over and over, just making India smell like one big fart. because it's sulfur dioxide. But we'll get to that part. We're looking at our vortexes. All right. So looking around here, we're getting a little vortex action out here. Something else we need to talk about now. So we're over here. We had that report where they were saying that the equatorial boundary zone, okay, where the two weather bands meet, has shifted, right? Well, here's your equator, and now here's your boundary zone. It's shifted a whole 10 degrees right there, the whole chunk. Okay, so I wish I could grab this and make the wind stay. Remember how we did that one time? I wish I could get it to do that again. But your equator is up here at this latitude now. See the air meeting here. Air from the south is still coming up to this line and then meeting the other air. So there's your new equator. And as if we go over here, well, by Jove, it's doing it over on the Atlantic too. See what I'm saying? And then we come over here. Here's more flow coming up from the southern hemisphere to this latitude. And here, there's no land in the way. So it continues up into India. So you're getting air crossing the equator, and your new equator boundary line is right there. You can see it in the airflow patterns. Okay. And one time I grabbed the globe and I moved it, and the air pattern stayed and the globe shifted. And I was able to put the equator, shift the equator up to the wind patterns here, and it looked like it was normal. But then you push it back down to where it is now, and you can see we have a big equator problem. Okay, this is what Mike's been talking about, trying to tell you guys the best way he can without, well, he's limited to what he can say too. So, all right, there's your vortex and your new flow patterns. Okay, crossing the equator, creating a new equatorial boundary zone where your weather meets and separates and divides. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is the sandstorm. Let me position for the sandstorm report here. Okay. Come on over and pull up some particulates. Which is dust extinction aerosol. Nice term, extinction aerosol. All right, here's your sandstorm off of Africa, blowing it out across the Atlantic. Okay, it's very weak, very disrupted, very jumbled, pulled apart and stuff. It used to be a nice, good, steady, strong flow that was disrupting our hurricane genesis. Okay, so as we look here, you can see some of these areas are rotating, taking this sand and starting to swirl it around. Once that happens, then it clears the sand out and the storm starts to form. Once that sand starts to rotate a little bit, that circulation clears out other densities. See what I'm saying? And now disperses it, making it less intense and less effective. Okay, we want nice and thick and white like this over here. So let me put the air patterns back on really quick. Wind, yes. Okay, so you see this uptick coming up to this latitude now has changed our whole conveyor belt structure system. And now we're seeing this air that's coming down the coast. Instead of coming offshore, it's coming down the coast now. And what sand it does take off off of Africa comes down, gets smashed up against this, and then kind of tossed around. So our big old strong fist with a forearm that was out there reaching out, ready to, punch this big old blow of sand into there, has kind of changed now. Okay, let me go ahead and take these patterns off really quick, the wind off. And, all right, come on over here where you can see. Where you can see that this region right here is in a lot of trouble. Okay, there's a lot of sand right there, and there's the mouth right there, and the eye right there, still pretty intense, and this one kind of diminishing, but you can see the sandstorms got shoving sand clear up here to the North Pole. Okay, not normal. Okay, these are not your normal effects. Okay. And you can see it right there. nostrils, mouth. Yep, that's still very angry with that region right there. I wouldn't want to be on that side of the planet right about now. Okay, so your sandstorm still going off, still spewing sand all around the world. Okay, now let's change over to our SO2. And if you thought you were seeing things there for a second, you weren't, or you were, but it's not what you think. Okay. So as we get into our country divided here, you can see one side of the country bleeding out SO2. This is sulfur dioxide. It's basically vaporized magma. Okay. And one side, very spongy, very porous crust. Where on the left side is very rocky, mountainous, thick, and more perforations in the crust. Volcanic sites spewing SO2. So there's your country divided. All right. So as we get in here, let me go ahead and do your fire report as well. Pop on the fires. Okay. Now, SO2 comes out of the ground so hot that it sparks fires. All right. Any kind of vegetation at the emission site, it comes out of the ground so hot it can spontaneously combust any kind of vegetation around. It'll dry it out within 5 minutes, and then it gets so dry that it just bursts into flames because the emission site is so hot. Okay, and it sparked fires up here in Canada last year, this year, but this activity has crept down into the lower 48. Okay, so our big, huge plumes and all the fires that were going on here in Oregon have kind of relaxed a little bit. We've seen a reduction of pressure out here on that band on the coast here. We'll cover that in a sec. So there's your SO2 emissions starting fires. Yes, your fires are being started from underground. Okay, every time we get a blast from the sun, we get a big old bulge or big burp from the core of the planet up towards the surface. A big old acid reflux burp comes up, and all kinds of SO2 comes shooting out of the ground, sparking fires, volcanoes, earthquakes, all kinds of great stuff. Okay. Hot spots. Hot spots would go hot spots, but no fires. Now, not every single emission site has a fire because there's desert. There's no vegetation around it. But you get it in a thickly wooded forest, all of a sudden you're going to have forest fire. Okay. So it depends on the topography of where the emission site is really, and the vegetation in the area. Okay. So here we are, Berry area. Okay. Fuel fires up there, but that's not really what I'm concerned about. Is these ones down here in Southern Cal. Okay, these two fires that are going on down there are induced by these SO2 plumes. They didn't just start by themselves. We had pressure come in. I showed you the big old bulge of pressure that was off the coast right here for a few days, and now we've seen a reduction in it because the SO2 came out. But when the SO2 came out, it came out so hot it started fires. Now, this activity has crept into the southern part of California now and is even creeping east into New Mexico. Okay. So, as we kind of look, you can see some of our fire activity is creeping eastward here. That's definitely one. Okay. These other little red ones I don't count. I'm looking for the strong yellow ones right in the heart of a purple spot. Not every fire is started by SO2, and not every SO2 emission site sparks a fire. Okay, but you can clearly see that some do. Okay. So let me take the fires off now. Oh, there it is. Okay, now back to our SO2 report. So we had 4 of these little dots one time 7 years ago pop up along the coast here, and everybody freaked out. Now there's millions of them all over the entire planet, and no one bats an eye. Too busy looking at Kamala and the whole clown show. Unbelievable. Very strong emission sites coming out of central Mexico right here in this region now. This area has kind of come to life. You look in here at Cuba, it's got emission sites. And Jamaica, well, you know what they're smoking there. Okay, so as we keep on coming down, this whole island chain right here, each island is emitting SO2. These are volcanic islands, and every time we get a burp from down below, these little islands start spewing SO2. And as you come on down through the northern part of South America, you can see all these SO2 sites really coming through this area really strong. You can see the whole Brazilian area filling in and stuff now. Okay. These guys didn't get it right either. Anyways, we're coming into our fulcrum point on the earthquake boundary plate right here offshore. So our fulcrum point has our strong SO2 emission site. It's a path of least resistance, weak spot. So we come over here to check this spot every night and make sure it's, doing some good, strong, organized activity right there. Other ones are pretty dark and, well defined. The fifth one is there and well defined too. So good pressure coming out of that region, showing that, yes, we have a lot of pressure. Now, all along the coast of Chile here, we have SO2, strong emissions have had this whole time since this started. No, it doesn't burn in the air, and it's not flammable. SO2 is sulfur dioxide. It's basically the gas that surrounds the magma down below, Jeff. It comes out of the ground at 4,000, 5,000 degrees. So hot that it just, if anything within a 100-yard radius just bursts into flame. Okay, depending on what kind of vegetation's around. Okay, the gas itself isn't on fire. The gas itself is so hot that when it comes out of the ground, the emission site sparks a fire. Okay, get this. Not only is SO2 coming out of the ground, but other gases like methane hang out with this gas as well, and methane is very flammable. And when it comes out of out of a site in the ground, methane will come out of the ground already on fire because it's at 3,000 degrees and it's a flammable gas. The moment it hits oxygen, it just bursts into flame. All it needs is the oxygen. It's just it's already sub-burning without the one oxygen molecule. The moment you introduce oxygen, it blows up. All right, not SO2, but it comes out so hot. It's basically vaporized magma. Okay, magma that is so hot that it's not molten; it turned into gas. Okay, and the magma wants to come out of these perforations, but it can't. It's too thick and viscous. But the gas can make it up through all the nooks and crannies and little pathways through the sand and dirt up to the surface. Yeah, these are all volcanoes, Jeff. What you're looking at are all little volcanic sites. Every SO2 emission site is technically an emission site. It's a miniature volcano, yeah. That's what's causing all these fires. So, anyways, there's your SO2. Okay, keep hanging out. You'll get it. It'll start to sink in after a while. All right, here's Hawaii, a volcanic island, right? Emitting SO2. All right, it's doing its job. It's the hub of the Pacific Rim, much like a bicycle rim. Here's the outer edge, and in the middle is the hub. So any pressure that comes along the plate boundaries, well, it comes up through the hub too. Keep hanging. You're doing well. These are great questions, Jeff. Keep trying to understand because this stuff isn't easy, and it takes a minute to grasp it. So just hang out. Keep asking questions. We'll get there, okay? So there was all that. Now let's get over to China, adjust for their time. Where are we? Bingo. All right. So over in China, very porous, spongy crust over there. A lot of SO2 coming out of the ground. Very strong emission sites. Let me just show you the coloration chart. Okay, zero emissions being gray, getting stronger and stronger till you get pink, purple, dark purple, blue, and then black. Okay, there's black spots every once in a while. There'll be a site that's just super, super dense, and it's black. So a lot of SO2 been coming out of this region for a long time, and it's creeping up through this way as well, down into the Korean Peninsula. We have Japan, which is a volcanic island chain in itself, emitting lots of SO2. Over here at Taiwan, where our fulcrum point is on our plate boundary system, our relief point, relief valve, doing a lot of SO2 right now, okay? Meanwhile, we have here in the Philippines a very strong emission site, and guess what? They had a fire there. I don't know if it'd be on this per se, because that's all for the U.S. But I saw a big fire coming out of that region right there, and lo and behold, they got a big, strong emission plume right there now. Okay, as we come on down to Java, the island of Java, Purple Island of Java, got a lot of volcanic emission sites on it, 2 volcanoes. It does a lot of the relief of the pressure down below. It's our relief valve. You can see Sumatra has filled in, getting purpler and darker. And then, so Java doing its job. Now, as we come over here to India, they have all their little SO2 emission sites, but what's happening is this vortex rotating around is throwing it up against the Himalayas here and recycling it. So let me go ahead and hit the winds here really quick, and you'll see what I'm saying. See how this vortex is not letting this gas escape, it keeps pushing it back over. Other gas keeps pushing it in there, and India is darkening in now, looking a lot more like China. Okay, and well, when you understand that what's going on, you can see, oh, there we did with the wind. See how the wind froze, and I wish we were at the tropics right now. All right, anyways, so you can see our flow coming up like this, going across India, the vortex pushing it up and keeping all the concentrations of gas right there. This area of the world in very hot water right now. They're in deep doo-doo. If you recognize what you saw on the sandstorm report there, you can understand why they're in big trouble. This is all biblical what's going down, and you can see some regions that chose a different religion, and it kind of shows. And once they get their head on right, they'll figure it out, and all that will change. Okay, so there's your SO2 reports. Now, everybody take a deep breath, because here we go into our ocean temperature anomalies, okay? So, here we are at the Atlantic. We have so many volcanic sites going on the surface, on land. Don't forget, the surface is also underwater. There's just water sitting on top of it. So we have volcanic sites all over on land. Well, we have volcanic sites under the water too. And you see in magma, hot water, whatever, emissions coming out of the ocean floor, creating hot water plumes. These are heat plumes, hot water plumes being generated from magma activity, hot water vents on the ocean floor. Okay. Now, as we come over here to the west coast, you can see our big triangle structure is kind of dissipated. Even our comma structure has dissipated in color. It was darker yellow or brighter yellow. Even our blue region's more of an organized comma shape right behind it too. Okay, and then meanwhile, we have Tamu Masi, the biggest volcano on the planet, and all the little seamounts around it, emitting steam, hot water, magma, SO2, methane, all kinds of hot gases coming out because the planet is expanding from the inside out. If you've ever tried to boil an egg and overcooked it, the egg will expand from inside and crack the shell from the inside out. That's what's happening with the Earth. Magma and stuff is pushing on the underside of the crust, trying to escape, and it's finding the pathways of least resistance to do it. Weak spots. And here's all your weak spots spewing hot water or heating the water in that area. Okay, some of the other areas we take a peek at is Taiwan, because it's one of our relief valves. And we did see this yellow creeping in and inundating and then recede once we had an earthquake. The yellow receded. Now it's starting to creep back in there. You even see yellow growing on the backside of Taiwan here. Our cold water inundation has receded. So hot water getting stronger in this area because pressure down below is pushing more stuff out. Okay, you can see this whole region's in hot water. They are in hot water with the Lord, and it shows. Let me show you something else really quick. This region out here, let me show you a temperature scale. black being neutral, okay? Everything from this way is going cold. So blue, colder, 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 ice, almost ice water, okay? Neutral, we're getting, back to warm, lukewarm, warm, hot, hot, and then white hot. So white being your hotter temperature, we are seeing white hot temperatures out here at Tamumasi. Okay, this is the biggest volcano on the planet. It's relieving a lot of the pressure too. Okay, it's a big vent, so every time we get a new influx from the sun, this thing flares up, this thing flares up, and then they brighten up in color until our Earth's little system of venting relieves the pressure. Look, the eye, its nose, and a big old grin. Uh-huh. Okay, so now what I got to do is I'm going to put the winds on. Now, what's going on here is our heat plumes are controlling our weather. It's no longer being controlled by the jet stream. Our heat plumes are causing our surface. These are your 850 bound, or well, where the storms ride. Okay. Hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. So these hotter areas, sea temperatures, have hotter air over them. These colder sea temperatures have colder air over them. So hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. Okay, and creates a vortex. Here's another little good example up here. Okay. So these heat plumes right next to cold water create vortexes, and then these vortexes end up riding a current and creating a conveyor belt type structure. Okay. Also over here, we have a cold and hot spot right next to each other, creating rotation, and this keeps kicking up a storm and sending it this way, kicking up a storm, sending it this way. These little regions right here keep generating these storms and kicking them up this way. Over on this side of the conveyor belt structure here, they don't have any sand to inhibit the hurricane genesis. Okay, so they're getting typhoons and typhoons over there. And here comes another one barreling in to China. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is pull back far enough here so you can see that your temperature anomalies are controlling your weather patterns. Okay, then here's your conveyor belt structure for the East Coast. Now we have this flow going this way, your conveyor belt coming down, going across, kind of even crossing this way for right now, but no longer going up the East Coast. That whole inside loop has been disrupted. We got another one creating vortex right here. So here comes your next big storm right here, because we're going into waters. You see the direction that the airflow is going. So it's going into waters that are warmer. And there was no sand out in front of it to inhibit this one. So this one will probably gain strength. We'll watch it as it comes in. Any new little opening here, there, cold spot can change the direction of this. Our new wind patterns coming up to this new latitude here, crossing the equator here, have kind of shunted all this, keeping it right there in our Genesis alley right here where the sandstorm's coming off. So your flow coming up a whole nother latitude up from the equator is keeping this band kind of formed like that. All right, some good news was up here at the Juan de Fuca. All right, we watched this area get very intense. Let me take the wind off here. Watch this place get very intense in color and then diminish. Now it's starting to fill back in a little bit. We had all those SO2 fires here that relieved pressure. Now those fires have diminished now. This pressure is starting to build again. We need more earthquake activity along the Juan de Fuca to relieve this pressure, or else we're going to start to see more SO2 emissions and forest fires, and we'll start to see these volcanoes on this cascade chain here start to go off. All right, so we need relief of pressure. Earthquakes, whatever SO2 emissions, anything that relieves pressure from down below. And you can see these colors just correlate basically into your pressure zone regions. Okay. They're temperature anomalies in the water, but they translate down to the bottom of the ocean floor too. Okay, so there's your, let me go ahead and put the conveyor belts back on. I'll let you guys look at that for a second and just kind of wrap your mind around how these heat plume structures are changing your weather. Now, weather comes up to the west coast and then goes right down the coast and back out. Nothing has come in from onshore in the west coast for a long time. Then we had this other conveyor belt structure coming through here and up through the middle. So all the weather is basically hitting from this side of the country over, getting generated over and over through the conveyor belt system over and over, while this keeps coming right up to the coast, going down the coast and heading back out. So this whole area has like had a hedge of protection over it for a while. And you can see it in the air patterns. I can. I don't know if anybody else is paying attention. They're probably too busy looking at the, oh, never mind. Just terrible. So there's your conveyor belt structure for a second. I'm going to let you take a second to look at that. We're going to do a 30-second break real quick. I got to let the cat out, and I'll be right back. So 30 seconds while you guys can take a peek at this, chat amongst yourselves real quick. If you have any questions, people in this chat room have been here for a while. You guys could help answer some of the questions that new members have too. Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Okay, thank you for your patience, you guys. We got kind of like a little haunted ranch here with critters and all kinds of stuff, so I have to check on stuff every once in a while here, and we'll show you some of the critters one of these days too. All right, so let's move on. There's your temperature anomaly map. We're going to leave it like that and then hop into our earthquake report. Okay, so as the USBS pulls up, GS pulls up here. Okay, here we go. Let's hop into our deep quake region over here by Fiji. Okay, so our deep quake for the day, right here. Pop it up, please. 4.3 down at 536. Okay, this is below our average. Usually we're seeing 4.5. Couple clicks below, not too much. Basically our average pressure coming up here. Okay, nothing usually produces 5 at the surface. Okay, this little island right here has SO2 emission sites coming out of it. And oh wait, I didn't show that little island, did I? Come back here. Let's just really adjust really quick. Come here to the SO2 so you guys can wrap your brain around this stuff. Grasping these concepts is what's important. Okay, so we're going, where are we going again? Here to this little island here over Fiji, right here. Okay, here's our little long, slender island with 2 emission sites right at it. Okay, it had a third the other day when we had a bulge in pressure, but it's back down to 2, which is an indication that pressure has reduced. We've had some quakes. Okay, so. Oh, I'm glad you came over and visited, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I have nothing against Mark. We have different ideas, okay? So there's no infighting between my channel and his channel. You got that? Mark is a friend of mine. He helped me with this back when it all started happening to me, okay? And I'll explain that as well. Tonga, you want to see Tonga? Here's Tonga over here, and it's got SO2s. emission sites. Fiji, our deep quake region, has SO2 emission. Okay, so all these islands are starting to emit SO2. Okay, but the main one I want to talk about is this little peninsula. It acts like a slow leak in a bicycle tube. You pump air into the tube, but the tube won't reach pressure, full pressure, because there's a couple of slow leaks, little pinholes. And these little pinholes relieve pressure as it comes into our plate boundary system, keeping the quakes down. There's no fives. Vanuatu was our little weak spot the other day. It's quiet right now, so no quake activity all through the plate boundary system. We have a lot of volcanoes through this area, okay, and I'll show you that on the volcano report, that relieve pressure in this area, keeping quake activity down. As we come in through here, you can see very quiet Java doing its job, relieving a lot of SO2, but it's not enough. Java and Sumatra is emitting SO2, and it's not enough. And they're having earthquakes as well. A 4.4 down at 40. Here's a 5.1 down at 127. When it's a depth deeper than 20, it's a volcanic structure, okay? Here we are, plate boundary, 4.9 at 10. What do we do with 4.9s here? Did you hear their latest report? This was the year with the most fours ever recorded. Gee, I wonder why. Because 0.9 also fits in there. So what do we do with 4.9s here? That's a 5. Okay, there's your 5 energy at the surface being relieved, plate boundary. Okay, these are cracks already in the shell of the egg. All right, you already overcooked the egg and you put cracks in the shell. These are cracks in the shell of the surface of the planet, and that's where path of least resistance wants to relieve energy. Okay, fulcrum points, but nothing today. Here we are at this mid spot, a little weak spot here in the Himalayas. You can see that there's a little scar going across right here, across the Himalayas. This is a spot where lowlands, it's not as high as the rest of the range. Okay, there's a scar going through here, and there's a weak spot, 4.4 down at 17. Okay. Now, no fulcrum point spots there, no fulcrum point quakes there. Now, let's go up this side. Over here, we had a 5.3 at the surface, relieving energy. Over here by Taiwan, our fulcrum point, you can see it on the ocean floor. Okay, you can see, let me just describe to you pretty quickly. This used to connect here, all right? It's almost like a plow came along and shoved this whole plate and broke it, bent it, and pushed this plate that used to connect right here and pushed it out to here. Okay, so you have a broken plate boundary right here with a fulcrum point and another fulcrum point pointing down that way. This is where you see a lot of your quake activity. This is where I like to see relieving pressure right here. This is what relieves a lot of pressures, this fulcrum point. This is our relief valve. So just off of it, it's not at the fulcrum point, but I will take whatever we can get in this region. Okay? It's of dire importance that we have earthquake activity. It doesn't need to be super big. You know, I don't want to see something over a 5.5 or 6, you know, that does devastation, but we do need medium-sized magnitude quakes to relieve pressure, okay? Oh, I'm going to connect every dot for you, Stephen. You're going to be thoroughly enlightened by the time the show is over. Everybody will be. Okay, let's get on up to this. Here's your 4.7 down at 44. Remember, Japan's a volcanic island, okay? So this is activity down at 44 on a volcanic island. Indication of pressure down below coming to the surface. Okay, very quiet through this whole plate boundary system because we have a bunch of volcanoes here on the Kamchatka going off, all right? Now, before we get into America, that's our deep quake. Let me just cover some of the rest of the globe here, and then we'll do all magnitudes for America. So coming in here to our plate boundaries at, here at the Cocos plate, this isn't even the boundary. This is 5.2 down at 57. Let me zoom in just really quick because we got some other ones hiding in there. Now, what concerns me about quakes like this is this deck, this plateau. You can see it's very shallow offshore right here. Okay, so it's like a plateau, and then it drops off. This is a cliff face going clear down to the crack in the ocean floor, way down here, 1,000 feet down. So this is like a huge cliff wall right here with an edge, like the corner of a table. You can see when we have earthquakes in this region, this edge breaks and this stuff sloughs off and falls. You see where it has fallen off here before in the past? There was an underwater landslide that can create a tsunami. Okay, so even though we get a small quake that's a 5.2, you don't think nothing of it, it could trigger an underwater landslide that causes a tsunami and surprise everybody. Okay, so 5.2 down at 57, 4.7 down at 56, and a 4.6 down at 45. All very similar in depth, all right underneath this plateau. Okay, thankfully it's not right on the edge right here. Okay. Every once in a while, got to check. When we see that plateau area, got to check and make sure it's not on the corner. Okay, quick magnitude check over in this region. Usually they're running mid-range 2s or 3s. There's a little 3.3, 3.4, 3.6. So a little uptick in magnitude for this region. Okay, so indication of pressure down below. We've seen an uptick in magnitude. Nothing at our fulcrum point today. Okay, very quiet around there. Just south of it, though, 4.8 down at 141. Got to remember, these are all mountainous regions, so a lot thicker crust in that area. 4.3 down at 59. Remember all the SO2 emissions going off on that region, keeping these magnitudes at mid-range 4s instead of 8.5, 9.2. This is the area that does the big 9s and stuff, okay? So we need that SO2 emissions. We need this regular quake activity like this along this plate boundary system, regulating pressure in that area. Whew. Ooh, here we are at Italy. Finally, some earthquake activity at Italy. Now, you see how this plate boundary wraps around, comes right up Italy, and then hooks to left, right? You can even see in the topography this hook. So pressure comes up through this plate boundary and stops right here. It finishes off this hook, and you can see just outside of this. This is almost like a fulcrum point, but it's more of a pressure comes in, wraps around, and if this were like a fist wrapping around this way, well, this is where the punch would be delivered. You can even see this little spire kind of coming off the tip out here, and this is your little weak spot due to that fracture, due to this topography, this plate boundary. 4.3 down at 10, that's at the surface, relieving energy here next to Italy. Now, Etna went off like a ballistic missile. I don't know if you've seen what happened to Etna today, but we'll try to get to that here in a minute too. All right, so I think we covered everything. Let's go ahead and drop into America. All magnitude, please. Guys doing okay there? All roads literally lead to Rome. And if that's the case, then all roads lead to doom. Because Rome fell, remember, in a day. Now, all of our microquake activity that's been going on these volcanic islands out here is kind of diminished a little bit as far as microquake activity, all right? But we do have some regular quakes going on here in my region that I like to look at. 3.9 down at 38, up here on the plateau, 3.2 down at 170. Coming in here on this cliff wall, coming down this face here, 3.4 there, and then this bigger 4.3, and that's at 0.9. That's just right there on that cliff wall. Luckily, hopefully it didn't create a little rock slide or anything like that, okay? Now, as we come up here into Alaska, multiple fulcrum points here. Let me get this just right. Okay, can you see the red line, the plate boundary where this quake is, our little red line? There it goes, right there. All right, so that red line is the plate boundary. That's a fulcrum, right? Y'all understand what a fulcrum is. Underwater, there's this structure. That's a fulcrum, okay? Then you got your plate boundary is the second one. The bay right here is another fulcrum. The mountain range just behind it is another one. Then there's another mountain range here, okay? There's another one going up through here. and another faint one going way up here and coming back down. This is a fulcrum point, believe it or not, 2.8. There's no depth on it. But now as I pull back, you can see, just like that snowplow effect, so God took his finger and pushed it like this, and all this stuff backed up, little waves backed up behind it. Okay, these pressure ridges created mountain ranges, and here's your last mountain range up at the top up here. This is the very apex of the fulcrum, 2.8. Okay, coming over, going down, too quiet. I do not like the looks of that. That is too quiet for the pressure that's in that region. Now we come back over here, change this back real quick to our ocean sea surface temperature anomaly map. Come back over and let's talk about Juan de Fuca. Okay. So as we kind of get set up right here, you see this little point right here, California. Okay, this little point right here, California, is your fulcrum point, the very bottom fulcrum point of your Juan de Fuca plate. Okay, this plate pushed up against this plate, then it broke, and this is a break in this Pacific plate. Okay, so this whole little thing is a chip that's been broken off in between. Any kind of pressure under there could push this thing up. Remember, these two are pressing this way against each other, so anything that's pressing this way, and then you got something from behind the page pushing, like a finger pushing towards the camera, and pop that puzzle piece out of there, you're in deep, don't say it. I'm trying not to cuss. I've been working on holding my tongue and not using profanity. But you're in some hot water there. That we need to see more quake activity, relieving pressure in that region. Okay. Now let's get on up here. Just microquaking, nothing too big. What I'm looking for is earthquakes at volcanic sites like, well, Mount Rainier here. Okay, they're not big, but they're an indication of pressure down below. Magma wants to come up through here. All right, the old magma chamber, the tube that comes up to the surface, once it erupted, that magma cooled and blocked that tube. Now magma wants to push up, but the tube's blocked, so it'll rumble. It'll shake this whole mountain. It's looking for a path of least resistance to come out, and it's shaking the mountain. So when you see earthquakes at volcanic sites, it's an indication of pressure down below. Now, as far as Mount St. Helens, very quiet today. All these other ones quiet, but we have seen flare-ups where these things all of a sudden have earthquakes and SO2 emissions every time we get a round of pressure or a round of energy from the sun. Coming down through your fulcrum point, nothing at the fulcrum point, just north of it, 2.0 is not even enough. Pressure wants to push inland. It doesn't want to follow this curve right here. So it pressures inland, but no quakes inland. Meanwhile, here's our geysers, which is a perforation in the crust, right? A perforation in the crust is a geyser. And here's the geysers, swarming out, relieving a lot of the pressure and energy as it comes into the Bay Area. Now we have some boundary quakes here on the San Andreas here. 1.4 and 1.3 here at Dillon's Beach. Okay, you can see the quake boundary goes down through here. Now we have parallel fault lines that run parallel to the San Andreas. They're all pressure ridges fault lines. See them running all through this region here. Okay, so we come in here, check quakes every once in a while. Just make sure we're scrubbing energy like we should be. That's good. Here's a recent one, is a 1.4. Okay, they're not big, but they're scrubbing energy. You got to remember, if you added all these quakes up into one quake, you're going to have a 9.5. So a bunch of little stuff like this keeps magnitudes down. Meanwhile, out here by Mono Lake, a 3.2 out here by Mammoth, and this caldera kind of coming to life a little bit. See this microquaking around it? So that's an indication pressure down below shaking a caldera. Now, this region out here, this little patch, let's go back to our map. Okay. The other day, this whole area was yellow, all right? Then we had SO2 emissions that relieved pressure and started fires, okay? Now this dropped from yellow down to orange and red, okay? So we've seen a diminishing of pressure and heat out of this region because of the latest activity. But you can see here's our little structure right here, this acorn type looking structure right here with quake activity offshore out here, relieving pressure 2.3 at the depth of 9, right on the shoreline here in Malibu. They had a 5 the other day, which had a dramatic effect on this. That bigger magnitude quake down there relieved a lot of this pressure as well as SO2 emissions. Okay. You guys grasping this? Good, good, good. I love people that pay attention. Okay, so just little, you see a few red dots around. We're currently having a little bit of activity at the moment. We'll come into Texas and New Mexico area, all man-made perforations in the crust. We understand how that works, okay? But I want to do a little magnitude check. 2's a recent 2.1. There's a 3.9 here in White City, New Mexico. So a little bit bigger magnitude out here. But all these little quakes are relieving pressure. You got to remember, each little one is like a little pinprick in the bicycle tube, relieving pressure down below. Okay. So good little flurry right there, relieving pressure in Texas. Now a couple of spots up in Oklahoma, southern Texas as well. Okay. Now here we are. This is your New Madrid plate boundary or your tectonic craton. Okay. And there's a fulcrum point that comes up like this, turns, and goes back down. So at the apex of your fulcrum point, your 1.7 here in Marston, Missouri, it's not a lot, but it's an indication that when we do get pressured, this is an area of a pathway of least resistance to watch in the future, okay? So when this G3 comes in and everybody goes, where's a quake going to hit? Well, it might hit this spot up here too, because this is another one of these little, it's not much, but it's an indication when pressure comes in, it looks for little pathways of least resistance. You got this one firing up just outside of New York City here. Okay. And on the New Madrid fulcrum point here, okay, and at a depth of 7, so it's very shallow. So your craton kind of coming to life a little bit there too as well. Whew. Did we get it all in? I think so. Oh, Hawaii. Okay, now we saw strong emissions, SO2 emissions out of these islands. Okay, you got to remember the volcano here just went off not too long ago, emitted a bunch of lava. Now that lava cooled and blocked that channel, and now you're seeing a flurry of microquakes in this region. Okay, this is a lot of energy being relieved in the form of 2.5, 2.1. Let me get a recent 1.9, 2.6. So ranging from this big one of 4.3, that's a decent sized quake for Hawaii. But as I pull back, you can see they're all around the top of this volcano. Pressure down below here wants to come out through this vent here, but it can't. So it's quaking all around the flank of that volcano, relieving pressure too. Okay, so that's good. There's Hawaii microquaking out. Okay, so there's that. Now I got to take a second and get rid of some of these instruments that eat up so much room on my poor little laptop here. We need to keep that. We never even looked at the future thing here. So here at SolarHam, we have a little data going in tomorrow. It's really quiet and there's a dropout in the data, but let's just come back over here really quick because you never know. See this? That's unopened yet. Let's refresh. What? You don't want to see this? You don't want to peek into the future? Well, tough. We're going to do it anyway. It's not much. It's 22 frames. But also, I want you to notice your inflow now. Some of these moons, some of these objects are approaching the sun from different angles, maybe from back behind. It looks like it's coming at it, from our angle going this way, but it might be approaching it from back there, coming at it this way, and then it'll ricochet off at another angle. Okay? So there's a little peek into tomorrow right there, but what I wanted to do was get rid of that now that we got through that spot. Now I can X out of that site. We'll keep this for the weather. Get rid of that. Open up a volcano page. The volcano page has so many ads that it eats up so much space that... Okay, here we go. 35 erupting and 32 active. Warning means active, okay? Together, put that together for active volcanoes. That's 67 active volcanoes. 7 years ago, when this all started happening to me, if I'd have told you back then that 67 volcanoes would be happening, 7 years later, you would have laughed. You would have said, Brian, you're crazy. Well, here we are. 7 years later, we got 67 volcanoes and all these ones underwater. And I am still crazy about you. Let's get into it, shall we? So here we are, Harapi Karaminsky volcano on the Kamchatka. Okay. So Karaminsky had a blast to 9,000 feet. Explosive activity continues. Okay. 9,000 feet at Karaminsky. IBU at 10,000 feet. Usually that's 8. We're chilling together at 10,000 feet tonight. All right. Semaru, 14,000. It maxes at 15, so that's a decent blast out of it. That's on Java. Okay, relieving pressure at our relief valve on Java. Here's Sumatra, the other island just across the way. 12,000 foot blast out of Marapi on the island of Sumatra. White Island in New Zealand, still having low level eruption. Santa Guido, Fuego, no heights to report, but Reventador back on the map again at 16,000. And that was just in the last few minutes, okay, in the last hour, okay? Because here's today, September 14th. So let's get into today, which is now yesterday, because, well, time flies at this channel. Now, I want you to take a minute to look at that volcano map. Here's your island chain right here where we didn't see any earthquake activity. Why? Because we got volcanoes relieving pressure in the region, okay? All the red ones are active or in eruption. That means in eruption. The other ones are minor activity, but still active. Okay, this map never used to exist. It's going crazy now. And look at this. Down here in Antarctica, melting ice here in the ice sheet. Okay, so there's your little volcano map. Come over to this site, take a little peek at it, stare at it for a minute until it settles in and sinks in that, we got a lot of volcanic activity. Why? Because the sun keeps pushing more energy into our planet. Okay. 10,000 feet. Ibu. Luatobi, 10. Semaru, 14,000. Do not get one of these dogs, especially with the Schumann resonance doing what it's doing. You do not want one of these dogs going Cujo on you. You'd much rather have a little poodle or a little chihuahua attack you instead of one of those. Back to Marapi, 11,000. Ducono, 8,000. White Island, still low level. Santa Guido, 15. Fuego, 16. Santa Guido, 19. Reventador, 14. Sabancaya, 24. Really quick. This is the 13th. I don't want the report, but what I want is the list at the end here for some new people that, okay, these lists currently erupting, all right, and eruption warning. These are ones that are any moment, any kind of activity from the sun will make one of these just blow. And of course, these are already going. So let me just kind of scroll down this and let you kind of wrap your brain around currently erupting Barren Island, Bizamani, Ducono, Ebico, Erebus, Urda Ale, Etna, Fernandina, Fuego, Home Reef in the Tonga Islands, Ibu, Iwo Jima, Karaminsky, Krakatau in the Sunda Strait between Java and Sumatra is Old Krakatoa. The son of Krakatoa is Krakatoa is Krakatau. Whew. Then we have Luatobi, Luatolo, Marapi, Masaya, Merapi on Java. So one's a Marapi on Sumatra, one's a Merapi on Java, right across from each other. Michael in the South Sandwich Islands, Nabiragira, Niragongo, Popocatépetl, Reventador, Sabancaya, Sakurajima, Songay, Santa Guido, Semru, Shibalu, Stromboli, Sionisajima, Tinakula, Villarica, and Yasur are all currently erupting. Yeah. This is sheer madness. Do not let this list desensitize you. This should be a warning. Just ring alarms all over the planet, but nobody's reporting it. Your mainstream media is just absent. You guys should be absolutely apoplectic with the media. All of them. All of them. None of them are reporting important stuff. They have you distracted. I don't care which side it's left or right. All of them are not reporting on a very important activity. And you know why? Because if the world found out, they'd probably have a heart attack. That's why we do spiritual report at the end of this. Okay, so we're done there. Let's get into our weather report, and then we'll get into the spiritual report. So we have all those particulates, all the ash that goes up into the air. Water droplets need a particulate to adhere to in order to form a raindrop. So the more particulates you put out there, the more raindrops you're going to get. Also, we have thermal conductive activity happening in our ocean, which is evaporating more water into water vapor in the air. So the air's holding more water with more particulates for that water to adhere to. Thus, you're getting more heavier downpours, larger hail, stronger storms, higher cloud tops, everything that comes with that. Okay, so your weather has many factors involved. A lot of you understand that it's the spiritual realm that's the factor as well. So we're just going to do our best with what we got here, starting in the nighttime of the 14th. Now, we also have geomagnetic enhancement that enhances cloud nucleation. Okay, that's the adhering of the water droplet to the particle. Okay, it wants to adhere a lot faster when you have more energy. Okay, so your geomagnetic forecast enhances your storms. It's bombogenesis of your storms. Okay, so get rid of the volcano. Let's start off slow here. Tomorrow, the 15th, no geomagnetic storm forecast. Now, this is where we do our own little geomagnetic forecast. So, spaceweather.com again. Sorry. Got to go around in a circle. So the 15th will be tomorrow. So we want to know what to expect for tomorrow. So we go back 3 days. 1, 2, 3. The 12th. So what came off the sun on the 12th? Well, let's take a peek here at the 12th. Nothing. Pretty quiet. We are missing some of the data. So there's this event right there. But let me see the trajectory on that. Do it again. I don't think we might see a little bit of enhancement tomorrow from this object, but it seems to be going back behind us. Well, usually stuff that affects us is stuff that comes off the right side here. It would be out in front of us. So no real storm enhancement then for the 15th. So I'm good to go with a 0 here. Okay, so no enhancement on our 15th. Current morning of the 15th, no enhancement to what they've got here already. There's noon, convection. Here we go. Convection is when your cloud tops are at their highest. The sun has sat there and boiled the air all day and roiled these cloud tops up to their maximum height. And then the sun goes down and convection stops, unless you're having air mass convection. So here's the sundown, what I call convection, on the 15th. Nighttime, it goes on land, inshore there. Morning of the 16th. Now, here we have G3. This is a big blast that we're going to have a fair amount of enhancement from. The stronger the KP, the stronger the G storm is, okay, the more enhancement we'll get. So as we go into the morning of the 16th, we're talking G3 enhancement to that already. So this, even though it makes landfall, might flare back up and be long lasting. That's noontime. It could still be severe there. And at convection here, it could still be even severe. Even into the nighttime there. Whoops. Sorry. Even to the nighttime here of the 16th. All right. So enhancement of that, and that. Okay, so the 16th, watch out when that comes through there. Everybody in this region, be aware that this storm might kick up and be a little bit stronger than what they're predicting. Okay, then as we go into the 17th, coming over here, 17th is calling for G2. Okay, so let's go with enhancement to this in the morning. It could be stronger than what they're showing. There's noontime kind of diminishing, but you could still see severe weather then. By convection, it's showing nothing right here, maybe a little pop up here, but that could all be different. This is a day where people go, oh, let's get, there's no severe weather, but they didn't know that there was a G2 storm geomagnetic enhancement to any kind of stuff in the area. So watch out on that day. The 17th might surprise everybody. There's the nighttime. You see this low doing its rotation, comma shape type structure. This linear little form right there, nighttime of the 17th with enhancement. Whoops, could surprise as well. So this little blob right here at convection going into nighttime could catch people off guard as well. Now, as we go into the morning of the 18th, this is, we saw what came off the sun today, the 15th, okay, which would put 3 days out, would be, oops, that's not 15th. Well, we don't even have enough data from the 15th. So anything after this is kind of up for grabs. All right. So now we're just going to march through and get it done. Morning of the 18th, noon. Watch up here in Canada. Okay. We have warm air still here in the southern states and cooler air up in Canada. So when warm, moist tropical air comes up through here, in order for it to have severe weather, it has to have cold air. So cooler air is up here in Canada. Your tornado alley kind of shifted north. So that low pressure right there, you people in Canada, pay attention here. After the 17th going into the 18th right there, that thing could catch people off guard. Convection the 18th, nighttime 19, noon, convection, nighttime 20, noon, convection, nighttime 21, noon, convection, nighttime 22, noon, convection, nighttime. This is all subject to change. That's why I'm not reporting detail on this. 23, noon, convection, nighttime, 24, noon, convection. Look at this wrapping up out here, nighttime, 25, noon, convection, nighttime. As that thing skirts the coast, let's pray that that thing skirts the coast and doesn't make landfall. Morning of the 26th, noon, convection, nighttime, 27, noon, convection, nighttime. See, this is that low pressure system, cooler air, pulling that air up into that cool spot, that's an example of what I'm talking about right there. Boom, that cold air colliding with that warm air. See how it comes? See how this cold, snowy air right here comes into this moist barrier? That's the air mass collision type stuff. And this is severe weather with snow. So you might get thunder snow in an event like that. You see what happened here? It went severe with, tornadoes, hurricanes, but gets so cold up here that it goes thermobaric almost to cold, and then you still got severe cold weather, so you're going to see heavy snows and possible thunder snow right there. Okay, that's where you would see it in an event like that. Wow, we need to monitor that. Hopefully this thing right here does not happen. Okay, because an air mass collision storm like that, see how it reaches all the way back and connects here? And if we got like geomagnetic enhancement on a storm like this at this juncture, say, right here, the G3 hits and then enhances that linear line right there, that could be, but that's so far out in the future that we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we're all done with our astrophysics and geophysics. Now we're going to do the spiritual report, which entails, metaphysics, how you work, okay? So everything that we've seen is very disturbing, and we need a break from all the disturbing stuff of the day and look at something that's a little bit more healthy for the human soul. So we're going to pull up some images. I got notes from experience that I'm going to read to you guys that will help ease your pain and suffering. And somebody was asking earlier, hey, have you ever healed somebody? Well, that's kind of what we're here for. All right, let's get her done. So let's see. We got a bunch of new members chilling here. A lot of people, I recognize a few. Our regulars are here. Okay, because some of the stuff that we have to kind of do background history in order for you to grasp spiritual reports. So what I'm going to do really quick here, I'm going to pull up the photos first and get some photos pulled up for you and get you guys a little understanding what's going on here. April 17th, 2020. This is a series of pictures I took on Easter of 2020. Tilt your head to the right. There's two eyes, a nose, a face, long hair, and a crown. On Easter, 2,000-year-old prophecy came true on Easter, you guys. That should shake the world right there. And we got a little explaining how that got there. Okay, so we're going to come back to my channel and just do a little explaining, because the explaining isn't about my discovery so much as more of a foundation for you. And once we get further along, you'll understand. So what I need to do really quick is a quick history, okay? Because we're in this time of year where all this stuff started happening. So let me get this started. Now, wake up call. This is my first video 5 years ago. Actually, it's been longer than that. They need to update that. And, Mark Wages, I was watching his show, and an image was shown to me, and I needed to access it, and I didn't know how to get back to the image, and I knew it came from a satellite. So I watched Wages, and he showed me how to access the instruments and the tools so I could come over here to Stereo A and find what was shown to me. And let me just get this lined up here really quick here, because most of it is just a bunch of them. Okay, what you need to do is take note of the date. Okay, this is September 10th of 2017. This is 13 days before the Revelation 12 star alignment, okay? I got a Bible here. We're going to read Revelation 12 really quick. Well, actually, let's run the video really quick. And with sound.
See it cause a third flare. Boom. Here's our object right here. Looks like Nibiru. It's got a wing coming off on this side and a wing coming off on that side. And that's not all, because behind that is this big object right here. This is what's causing our flares. Here's a conduit of plasma that is sucking off of our sun, going into this planet. Here's a damage ring or an impact zone on this planet right here. You can see Nibiru sticking out in front of it here.
Okay, so I just refer to it as that, all right? I was never a Nibiru guy, all right? Ever since I was a kid, I was plagued with UFOs, all right? I seen a real one, daytime sighting when I was young. I knew exactly what it was. Nobody had ever explained or said the term or anything. I knew exactly what it was. So I've been a ufologist most of my life, okay? Because I've had a lot of experience in that. So I was not a big Nibiru guy. When this was shown to me by divine powers, okay, we'll just say, it took a while for me to see it. I was looking at the CME, right? We're all looking at the light right here. And it wasn't until I realized, oh, wait, it's a dark object surrounded by plasma. You can see plasma coming out of the northern pole of the sun. So out of the southern pole, it's making a circuit. It's an arc. It's making a circuit. This thing crossed a magnetic barrier, a field line or whatever, and arced. See the arc? Bzzz, and sparked this and caused the plasma to glow around this. These wing type structures are ionized iron that's being sucked off of this core back into the bigger object back behind it. Here, that object back behind it, okay? Now, you got to remember space is three-dimensional, and this is a two-dimensional screen, and it's very hard to see it for some people. So what I did is I drew a picture while I was in one of your wonderful facilities to kind of, well, demonstrate to the doctors what the heck is going on. And so here's a little picture I drew. Just, I'm not the best artist in the world, but that's kind of what's going on there. You got your bigger black object back here. Here's a conduit of plasma that's hitting it, and it's spreading over it in a circular fashion. This is the damage ring as it's spreading out and going over a round surface, over a spheroid object. And then the debris being pulled back. This is basically a black hole, or the stellar core of a burned out star and the core of a burned out planet that's rotating the burned out star. Okay. And that whatever little ionized iron that's coming off this core is being illuminated in those wings type structure. Okay. So Nibiru isn't like a winged planet. A lot of these stellar cores have this wing effect on them. They're the trails that go back, right? We see them all the time. So September 10th of 2017. This is 13 days before the Revelation 12 star alignment. Okay? That happened on September 23rd of 2017. Everybody saw that, realized it, recognized it. That event right there should have been enough. That should have shooken the world, but something happened there. In the prophecy, it talks about there was a great sign in heaven. The woman draped in the sun with the moon at her feet and a crown of 12 stars, and she was pregnant. Then another sign appeared, a great red dragon. So it makes it sound like there was a second sign that appeared after the star alignment. But when you read the Revelation correctly, it says the dragon stood in front of the woman or stood before the woman. Well, this is 13 days in front of the woman or 13 days before the woman stood. The dragon stood before the woman, ready to devour the child. And this was shown to me by God. And I'm like, this was sitting on my computer. I came home, didn't turn my computer on. I came home and this image is sitting on my computer. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't turn on my computer. What's this doing here? And it wasn't until I, tracked it down on, this instrument. Mark Wade just showed me how to use this instrument. So I went over there, looked up this time frame and found it. And I captured this thing. This is gone now. Go try to find it. Go try to find this image. They buried this stuff. And there's your dragon standing in front of the woman. All right. Now, I was told everybody saw the woman, but they missed the dragon because they were looking after the 23rd, not before the 23rd. And the dragon stood before the woman. So there's your Revelation 12. And this is where it all started for me. This day was just the 7-year anniversary, was just a few days ago. And I didn't think I was going to live after this anniversary, but still here. Okay, so this is when everything started for me. And then you see this back here behind here. This matches the definition of a black hole. It's so big and so massive that it bends and absorbs light. Okay, it's ripping plasma off the sun. This thing is it's in a state of matter that's super energy depleted, super depleted. Imagine if you stripped every electron and then took even more. Well, you can't because there's nothing to take from. You took every electron. Well, that's when the matter changes phase. All right. You start stripping off more than there. You change that matter into a different phase of matter. And now you're talking dark matter. All right. Matter that can't be seen because it doesn't reflect light. But when draped by plasma, well, it paints the contour much like an invisible table and a tablecloth. Okay, this is how you see the invisible. All right, I'm showing you basically a black hole because this matches the definition of a black hole. It's more than 5 times the mass of our sun. Okay, and a black hole, you coming in here? You're going. A black hole is not what you guys we're taught in Walt Disney and Star Trek. It's not a tear in the fabric of space time. It's a super dense spheroid, so dense that the gravity field, the magnetic field and gravity is so strong that light cannot escape from it. But it does drape over it and interact when it interacts with the sun. Okay, so God showed me the dragon and told me, you need to warn everybody. I'm like, what? It's not me. I'm just some dude with a cooks and does this or whatever. I'm not this guy. And he's like, no, you're gonna warn people about this. I'm like, what? So it took me a few to get this, how to do this and do this video, this wake up call video, and that's what he told me. Wake up call. That's what it is. That's your wake up call right there. The white circle, you guys all know, represents the size of the sun. This thing is way bigger than our sun. If something can influence our sun, it has to be stronger than the sun, right? Well, this thing's bigger, stronger than the sun. It's the dragon. Okay, Revelation 12. Then, as we progress, things change. And about a week later, well, a little bit after that, this happens to me right here. So, some of you are telling you got a haunted ranch. You got a, what, Skinwalker Ranch is haunted. I said, well, my ranch is haunted too. It's got angels and demons and stuff instead. So let's just get into what happened. I'm trying to go chronologically in time here so it'll make sense for you guys. Okay. Hopefully you can see up here at the top here. It says October 4th of 2017. Okay, this is 11 days after the Revelation 12 star alignment. Okay, the woman stood. She was pregnant. She was about to give birth. The dragon stood in front of her, ready to devour the child the moment it was born. Okay, well, this is captured on October 4th of 2017 on my security cameras.
The garage with our same display right here, and this was actually captured the day before the other picture, but I haven't found it for years later until I was digging around through my my old pictures and stuff and went even further back to see if I'd missed anything, and I captured this one. And we're going to zoom into this streak right up here, this one right here. Bear with me for a second here. Now, hopefully, you can see that we have a lady's profile here. Here's her eye, here's her forehead, her snub little nose, here's the bottom jaw. She's smiling, she's looking down, and she's holding a baby. And here's the baby's head right here. Here's the face, the back of the head. Here's her arm cupped around like this, and she's holding the baby. Now I'm going to run this through the filter real quick, and it's going to enhance it, but a little bit too much. See, now you can really make out her profile a lot better and see her face, and her headdress is coming over and going down back behind her. And you can still make out the baby's head right here. And maybe if I pull back a little bit, there we go. And this was captured.
Let's try that a little bit better. There we go.
Captured on October 4th. So this was about 11 days after the Revelation 12 sign. All this stuff started happening to me just prior to the Revelation 12 sign and then right after it. So it said the woman was about to give birth. Well, it looks like maybe she gave birth, and here's the little baby being caught up to God.
All right. Then that night that happened, I had no idea that had showed up. This was the first image I captured the day after. All right. It wasn't for a couple of years later that I went back and found that baby. Okay. This was the original image. After I made the wake up call video, I thought I was going to die. All right. I did not feel very good at all. And I was in anguish, and I ran down to my garage to go pray. And here I am crying and screaming, just a mess. And this is what happened. This is what caught my camera captured.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back.
And this is the next day.
Going through some of the old photos. And
October 5th.
Through the filter. And this was one of the first ones that I had ever captured. And what's going on here is I'm here on my knees. I'm crying and screaming and praying, all three at once. I
See
was
that
in
date?
some extreme anguish. A paranormal traumatic event happened to me. Something so unbelievable you guys wouldn't believe it. So if I told you, so I'm gonna show you instead. So in this image here, I'm sitting here praying, and Mary's head appears right next to my head, and we're gonna zoom in on this. You can't go in too tight on it, but she's looking down at my head this way. Let's see, there's pretty good. And you can make out her eye and
It's
her
too
nose
zoomed in.
coming down,
Too zoomed
her
in.
shawl coming over, and it's in shadow right here. This is a shadow of the inside of her shawl going over her head like this. Here's her eye, her nose, her other eye would be on the other side there. Okay. You can't go in too tight on it. And then also is this white ball with an eye in it, this white orb with an eye in it. Okay, and that's not all, because over here in this corner up here is an angel, the silhouette of an angel with his wings spread, with his back to us, standing in a shaft of light. Here's his head, there's a glow over the head, the wings are extended, and there's a feather coming off. The last feather coming off is crossing over these brown roof tiles in the background here. And you can make out there's an angel right here.
I have angels in my ranch. See? When I tell people I got angels that visit my ranch, I do. See it? I got Mary. She visits my ranch too.
You can even see his head right here.
Makes Skinwalker Ranch look like
Tighter.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
So there's the angel with his back to us and his
These are
wings
real
spread.
images, by the way. Security camera footage. It's admissible as evidence in a
You
court
can
of
see
law.
a lot better with the filter. Before it was really faint and it was hard to see. Same with this. This came out a little bit better here.
You can't go too tight in on it.
Down at my head because I was in anguish. I mean, what happened to me was just so disturbing. I can't even describe it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna either. But here you are. October 4th, the baby's born. October 5th, this, well, for lack of a better term, an anointing ceremony. Okay, there's an angel, there's Mary, the God Eye. Usually, when you got all three of these together, Jesus is in the picture somewhere too. Well, he is, if you know what to look for. Okay, so I got all these weird things that have been happening to me. I got Mary and angels showing up. Well, not only that, but let me show you another cool little angel real quick. And this is beautiful stuff. I mean, I can't understand why people wouldn't
movie is in theaters right now, so
like this, but I guess they're just lost. All right, tilt your head to the right here. This little angel captured here. I tried to tell some people, hey, I captured angels on my security camera and you can see them. And they went, what? You're seeing angels? I said, no, I captured them on film and you can see it. Oh, you're seeing angels. You're crazy. You need to be locked up. And I'm like, no, you're not listening. You're not paying attention. Go look. Go look, for Christ's sake. Please go look. So here's a beautiful angel that was captured. Well, nobody went and looked.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. So I'm real excited to show you this one. This is an angel that was captured on my security cameras, and now I've run it through the filter here. So if you turn your head to the right, about 45 degrees, you can make out the head, the hair, the breasts. It's a female, the torso, the waist, the legs coming down here, a wing coming off here, a wing coming off over here. And we'll zoom in on this real quick because this one's nice and clear that you can.
Even has a face.
Okay. And this is an angel that was caught hovering in a shaft of light over this sleeping child down below here. So zoom in on it again. Just excited that you can see it a lot clearer now because before it was kind of faint. And now with these filters, I'm able to make these images pop a little bit more for you guys so you can see them. I'm sorry about the way I have to do it with a camera and the computer, but I don't have any other option. So
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, there's a little demon face up here. See these little eyes right here? A little demon face trying to give this kid nightmares, and this little guardian angel comes in to protect him. This is real image, real stuff. Real angels visit my house. Okay? And not just angels, we also have demons too here. So you guys need to see that part a little bit too. We won't go too in depth on that, but it is part of the thing. So
going through some more of these pictures and running them through the filter and stuff. And not only were we finding angels and Mary and stuff, but there's also demons, and I've also found Satan in this stuff too. So as we're looking here at this picture, what I'm talking about is in this mosaic of blotchy white dots that you see this picture is comprised of. When you zoom in really tight in on a picture, you'll see that it's made up of these splotchy little patches and dots. These new digital cameras make these little blotches. Well, hiding in these blotches are faces. And if you haven't seen it yet, there's an eye right here and an eye right here. And when you make eye contact with these two eyes right here, you'll see the mouth fall into place down here. It's snarling. If you look, it's got some kind of streaks or horns or something or wrinkles coming out of its head up here. And this is some kind of demon or principality. You know, other people refer to them as principalities, but this is what I'm talking about. And hopefully you can see this here. This is a pupil right here of an eye. This is a pupil of a bigger eye. Here's the whites of the eye, the white of this eye. These two eyes. Once you look at those, you'll see it falls into place. Maybe I'll pull back a little bit. You can see it a little bit better. Zoom in. Right about there is good. And you can make out there's teeth here in this mouth. There's a corresponding mouth with these eyes, wrinkles going across the nose here. This is some kind of demon or principality. And it's tucked in the way in the corner of this picture, way back up in here. And you can't even see it as in a normal picture, but you zoom in, swing it over, zoom in, and you can see this face just appear. And there's more faces in this stuff too, but this one's really defined and pretty dominant in this picture. So I want to start off with that one. Hopefully you guys can see this one. Okay. So in this sequence here, I've got my camera pointed at the couch now because I've been capturing activity around this couch. And one night I was just sitting on my couch there praying, and wasn't really thinking of capturing anything. Here I was just sitting here praying before I started taking pictures or doing my thing, and it was already running. And lo and behold, there's some kind of demon up here. You'll see some green wings over here kind of flapping, and it lifts up my bike and spits a bolt of energy on it. And I had no idea this happened until I went back through my pictures and stuff. And I put this series into motion in a flip book, and I realized, oh my goodness, look what happened. It picked up my bike and spit a bolt of energy on it. This one, you can't really see the face too well, but you can make out the wings kind of flapping. Maybe we'll pull it over this way a little more. There we go.
okay, real demons, real poltergeist activity, moving stuff. This bike broke the next day, almost killed me when the frame snapped. I'm like, what? How did the bike break like that? Well, looking back over the security camera, no wonder why it broke. Something did this to it.
And this thing turns, picks up my bike, lifts it up, and spits a bolt of energy on it.
Fiery darts.
Okay, there's that. I'll let you look at that one for a second longer.
Okay. Okay, in this series here, I'm sitting on the couch again praying, the camera's set up, and you'll see a purple streak, a bolt come in here, right there, boom. And it hurt. You can see my reaction to it. So we'll let it run again. Here I am sitting here praying. There's all kinds of stuff jumping around in the background, and then zap right there. And that was a real one. I could feel it. And now when I go back, we're going to go back to the top of that bolt and zoom in on the face. Okay, so here's the frame out of that sequence of me getting hit with that bolt. You can see the bolt coming down here. It's got a kind of a purple hue to it or whatever. And then we're going to start zooming in to the face up top here, and it's going to be Satan's face. So you guys ready to see this? Yeah, fair warning. Okay, I don't really like to show this all that much. I don't glorify this, but it is part of the thing. So it's important that you know that hell is real and Satan's real. You might want to. And he's attacking me at this point. But I do not glorify this at all. I do not like to give him attention, but it's important to know that he's real, because he wants everybody to think that he's not real. I think you might be able to see this face without me pointing anything out yet. I'm going to freeze frame it right here. Well, actually, I'll let the video play because I pointed out here. So there we go. Okay, so let me zoom out so I can see it. If you look right here at this eye, this is his crazed eye. The other on the other side is bigger. It's the all-seeing eye. It's a little out of proportion, but then you can make out the side of his face, his jawline coming down, the bottom of his chin, his face going up here. Here's his mouth with some evil kind of grin on it. You can see his ear coming out over here. You can make out horns coming up. And this is in that mosaic of dots again, but these faces pop out and they're more prominent. You can see this one really stands out. And that's Satan right there. You can even make out some wings coming up here. And he's mad. He's mad because I'm praying. And he's spitting bolts of energy at me and spitting on my bike and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. He's attacking me because of who I am. So, it's important that you guys know that this entity is real. Okay? So, not only do we have that wonderful stuff, but then now that activity has, well, taken to the clouds, believe it or not, and here we go. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. So these faces that I've been showing you in the last few videos that are in the etherical or in that mosaic that I was talking about are not only taking place there, but now they're taking shape in our clouds. And with this new filter, I was able to go through some of these pictures, and it really makes them pop now. So if you can't see it yet, there's an eye here, an eye here, here's the nose, a mouth down below, here's an ear coming back up, the jaw running down, little pointed chin, and this face seems to almost be bisected. One half is like a goblin, and this other half looks like almost like a Wolverine or a Ewok type character. So I'll let you look at that for a minute. And this was pretty faint in the original picture, but now with the filter, it really makes it pop. So hopefully you guys can see that now. And then I'm going to bring you some more. Just real quick here, I wanted to show you the unfiltered version. This is the original right here compared to this one right here, where you can make out a lot better. Okay. Okay, one more, and this one right here, you can make out we have an eye here and an eye right here. Here's the nose, and here's some lips, and it looks like he's blowing. You can make out his ear over here, horns and stuff coming up, his eyebrows. There we go. Now you can see a little bit better. An eye, the nose, the lips. Okay, so I want to show you that one with the filters. All right, notice he's blowing out some clouds too. So your spiritual realm is actually in control of the weather. Okay, and then add your particulates and your moisture too. This dude blowing, and now you've got big problems. So there's this. Now these faces in the clouds follow me everywhere I go, okay? They follow me, they watch me, they study me. They're just UFOs, watch, follow, study. You guys are here following on YouTube, much like you follow on Facebook. So you guys are following, watching, and studying my every move too, aren't you? Yeah, because of who I am, okay? Satan attacks me because of who I am, all right? This stuff, these faces follow me in the clouds because of who I am, all right? Everything that's going on around the planet is happening all because of who I am and my presence here with you right now. So take a deep breath. Okay, I got some notes for you guys here. We see all this stuff going on. It's very disturbing, but it's all part of the story, okay? The script of a movie. The scriptures are the script, right? Script, scriptures. So, therefore, you have the script to the movie, all right? Once you realize this is what's going on and that you're now part of this family, that you now have nothing to fear. It's everybody else who hasn't found this channel yet that's got concerns. But you can be still. Oh, wait, we got other ones. Wait. I got other images I got to pull up real quick for reading. I did not pull up my images. Where to go?
Unbelievable. We have recently noticed that liberals have been ordering these Trump assassinate bars just to throw them out. We really hope this video reaches the right audience.
All right.
Might tell us that this is,
There we go. So, this is my face showing out by the moon. Okay, and that's basically what it looks like right now. I got the book light shining on me, and that's my face while I read to you. So, while everybody else is having issues and having mental breakdowns and stuff, you can be still in the light of my presence while I communicate love to you. There is no force in the universe as powerful as my love. You are constantly aware of limitations, your own and others, but there is no limit to my love. It fills all of space, time, and eternity. And now you see through a glass darkly, but someday you will see me face to face. Then you will be able to experience fully how wide and long and high and deep is my love for you. If you were to experience that now, you would be overwhelmed to the point of feeling crushed. Well, you guys aren't overwhelmed anymore or feeling crushed anymore. Okay, you have broken through those limitations. Okay, you now see through that dark glass. You now see clearly. You do see my face. Okay, and you see how wide and long and high and deep my love is for you. Okay, and if you were to experience it all at once, well, that'd be too much. That's why we do little shows like this to break it up over time like that, so it won't be so overwhelming to you. Everybody else will be overwhelmed, but you won't. You won't be overwhelmed to the point of feeling crushed. This is actually relief for you. Okay, but you have an eternity ahead of you, absolutely guaranteed, during which you can enjoy my presence in unrestricted ecstasy. But for now, The knowledge of my loving presence is sufficient to carry you through each day. Okay. What's that other stuff? Okay. So, be on guard against the pit of self-pity I was talking about last night. Okay, that's a slippery slope. Once you get one foot into that pit of self-pity, oh, feel sorry for me, it's hard to get out of it. So be on guard against the pit of self-pity. When you are weary or sick or unwell or weak, this demonic trap is the greatest danger you face. Because you're like, oh, poor me, I'm not feeling good today, right? And it's a demonic trap. So don't even go near the edge of the pit. Its edges crumble easily, and before you know it, you are on the way down. It is ever so much harder to get out of the pit than to keep a safe distance from it. Okay? So when you feel like you're going to go into that, oh, poor me, self-pity mode, you feel it coming on, don't even get close to that pit. Don't even entertain those thoughts. Because it's ever so much harder to get out of the pit than to just keep a safe distance from it. That's why we do our salvage work every day, is to keep that safe distance from that pit of self-pity. Okay? And that's why I tell you to be on guard. Now, there are several ways to protect yourself from self-pity. When you are occupied with praising and thanking me, well, it's impossible to feel sorry for yourself. Also, the closer you live to me, which is seeing things from my perspective, all right? So the closer you live to me, the more distance there is between you and that pit. Because now you're experiencing my presence, you're in joy. So you're not feeling sorry for yourself. You're seeing your adversity as trials to overcome that make you stronger. So therefore, your adversity is, part of the test, and now you see the test and you understand it makes life a lot easier. Hang on, let me get another sip here. All right, now, what else was there here? Yeah, it's so hard to get out of the pit of self-pity than to just keep a safe distance from it. Okay? It's impossible to feel sorry for yourself when you're occupied thanking me. When you've got thankfuls in your head, it's impossible to be worried when you're thankful, right? So we want to keep that thankful mind going. Don't go near the pit of self-pity. What else do I have for you? Also, the closer you live to me, the more distance there is between you and the pit. Then live in the light of my presence by fixing your eyes on me. Then you will be able to run with endurance the race that is set before you without stumbling or falling. Okay? Because you get right back up. It's part of the race. You're the one with the number on your shirt. You're in the marathon. You're the race. There's a whole crowd around watching it, but they're not contestants. You are. You got that number on your jersey. You're a contestant in that race, and you will be able to run with endurance that race that I have set before you without stumbling or falling. You just recover that day. You do your salvage work until you do, and then you get back up and you keep going. All right, now let's get over to the other one with the heart here. Okay, another thing that was happening is all these faces that follow me around in the clouds. One day started turning into my face, and I'm like, whoa, that's my face in the clouds right here. And then I realized, wait a second, not just that, look where it's coming from. It's coming from back here. So let's do this really quick.
Howdy folks, welcome back, sir. And I'm gonna start zooming in.
That's probably pretty good right there. There's Jesus pulling open his shirt like Superman, exposing his heart. It's radiating out these waves of love, creating a face in the sky. Okay. You know who's really in charge of the weather and the clouds? That right there, the heart of Jesus. He's in control of everything, not just the clouds, every little aspect of everything. Okay. So live in the light of my presence by fixing your eyes on me, and then you will be able to run the race with endurance that is set before you without stumbling. Now, throughout the course of your day, we have so many distractions going on that you get pulled away from the spiritual realm, right? And you need me every moment. Your awareness of your constant need for me is your greatest strength. Okay? Your awareness of your need for me, a constant need. Okay? When you get to that awareness, your awareness of my constant need for me is your greatest strength. Your neediness, properly handled, is a link to my presence. Now, there are pitfalls that you must be on guard against, like self-pity we were talking about, also self-preoccupation, okay, being self-absorbed in your ego, okay, we have to kill the ego. So there are pitfalls, the self-pity, the self-preoccupation, and then also giving up. So your inadequacy actually presents you with a continual choice. Either deep dependence on me or despair. How was despair for you? Did you enjoy it out there in despair land? Well, you don't need that. You can be in deep dependence on me. Okay? Then the emptiness you feel within will be filled either with problems or with my presence. So what would you rather have? A bunch of worries on your mind? What's going to happen? Oh my gosh, the volcanoes are getting intense. Yeah, they are. So what? Doesn't change this. Well, the president in the election, there's not going to be an election. What are you talking about? We got a candidate. It's abysmal. Are you kidding me? This lady couldn't run a kindergarten class. You know, and we see some other candidates out there that are abysmal as well. There's not going to be an election. And even if there was, it still doesn't change this. This is more important than everything else. Okay? And this is the gift. What's more important than the gift is the giver. That would be me giving you this gift. Okay? So, you can live in despair or dependence on me. Pick one. The emptiness you feel within will be either filled with problems or my presence. So, make me central in your consciousness by praying continually, simple short prayers flowing out of the present moment. Okay? Lord, we're heading out on the roads. Pray a hedge of protection while we're out on the roads, right? Just simple little prayers like that is a continual reminder, and that's a praying continually, short little prayers. You know, I saw that bird fly over right in front of me at the same time the music right there. I saw your handiwork. Thank you, God. Those are little moments right there, little prayers, short little prayers flowing out of the present moment, okay? So you're recognizing your present moment more, okay? And living more in the present keeps your mind off of future tripping and dwelling on the past, doesn't it? So make me central in your consciousness by praying continually these simple short prayers in that present moment, and then use my name liberally to remind you of my presence. Keep on asking and you will receive, so that your gladness may be full and complete. Like I have found full and complete gladness, and I want to share it with you. I want you guys to have the tools to be able to find that, even in your circumstances. Okay? And you will be full and complete. It's also trust and thankfulness that will get you safely through each day. What gets you through each day safely? Trust and thankfulness. It's a thankful heart that's not future tripping, right? So, trust and thankfulness will get you safely through each day. Trust protects you from worrying and obsessing. Thankfulness keeps you from criticizing and complaining. And those are like twin sister sins. They go hand in hand. They're twins. Your complaining and criticizing and obsessing and worrying are they're twins, man. They go hand in hand. So that's why you need trust and thankfulness to beat those twins of complaining, criticizing, obsessing, and worrying. Trust and thankfulness will get you through each day. Keeping your eyes on me is the same thing as trusting me. Did you know that? Keeping your eyes on me is the same thing as trusting me. It is a free choice that you must make thousands of times daily. It's not like once, I believe now. No. We do this throughout the course of the day. All day long, day in, day out, we are salvaging our day. Sometimes there are obstacles that come at you every day. No day goes without something. All right. And it could ruin your day and set you in a downward spiral that's self-pity. But if you have that trust and thankfulness, those are your weapons right there. And that trust and thankfulness is a praying continually type effect. So keeping your eyes on me is the same as trusting me. The more you choose to trust me, the easier it becomes. Your thought patterns of trust become etched into your brain. Okay? Your thought patterns of trust were etched into your brain by the media and by the schools and by the government. And that's who you trust, is the government, media, and schools. Well, all of a sudden you realize you can't trust them anymore. Now what? Now who are you going to trust? But the more you do this, thought patterns of trust become etched into your brain. I'm not brainwashing you, but I am cleaning out all that old junk and programming you properly with good, noble thoughts, real. So, thought patterns of trust become etched into your brain. Like, close your eyes and envision little fingers going deep into the crevices of your brain, etching their little pathways, little fingers of trust, getting down into those nooks and crannies. Okay? So your thought patterns become etched into your brain. Thought patterns of trust become etched into your brain. Then you can relegate troubles to the periphery of your mind so that I can be central in your thoughts. Thus, you focus on me and trusting your concerns into my care. See, you guys would keep picking up these rocks and throwing them in your backpack, insisting on worrying about them. That's my job. You give that stuff to me. Unless you insist on carrying it around and tripping and worrying and stumbling, and otherwise, give it to me. Trust and thankfulness will get you through each day. Okay? Relegate your troubles off of your mind, give them to me so that I can be central in your thoughts. And then, thus, you're focusing on me and trusting your concerns into my care. And then you guys can breathe easy and have freedom and live more abundantly. And I think we're going to close on this one right here. Yeah, okay. So, after all this, learn to live from your true center in me. Okay, so your true center, right here, back here. Can we have this from the Lord? Right here, true center in me. Let me get this image.
On this.
There we go. So as if this were your face too. Your true center is in me. Okay, so learn to live from your true center, from your heart, which is in me. I do reside in the deepest depths of your being, in eternal union with your spirit. Where do you think your consciousness came from? Where do you think your spirit, your yearning, this burning feeling, this desire in you, where do you think that comes from? I got that same one. You're feeling me. That's what you're feeling. I'm radiating out this all over the planet. You're feeling me. Okay? And so I reside in the deepest depths of your being, in union with your spirit. It is at this deep level that my peace reigns continually. You will not find lasting peace in this world around you, nor will you find peace in your circumstances or in human relationships. Unfortunately, you will not find peace in human relationships. The external world is always in flux. It's under the curse of death and decay. But there is a gold mine of peace deep within you, waiting to be tapped. Tap, tap, tap. You feel me tapping? I'm tapping at that inner peace that's in you. Okay. There is a gold mine of peace that's deep within you, waiting to be tapped. So take time to delve into the riches of my residing peace, of my residing presence. I'm here now. Tap into that. Tap into the fact that it's true that we are in those days and that you have a relationship with me. You have the riches of residing in my presence right now at this show. Right now, you're getting your peace, aren't you? I want you to live increasingly from your real center, where my love has an eternal grip on you. I am Christ in you, the hope of glory. You guys have the hope of glory. All right, we're doing salvage work. When you salvage a day, that's a overcomer. That's a glory right there. You can chalk up a glory, right? So when you overcame that day, that was Christ in you. You saw that you can do this, and that gives you hope. The hope of being successful in salvaging your day and getting that glory. So I am Christ in you, the hope of glory. Okay? Good job, you guys. You're really doing well. Some of you guys are grasping this. A lot of it takes a minute, okay? And if you don't yet grasp it all, that's okay. Just keep coming back before the miracle, or don't leave before the miracle happens, okay? This is my face showing up in the clouds on Easter with a crown. It's because of who I am. I showed you Mary showing up. I showed you angels showing up. Okay? I showed you the dragon of Revelation 12. Only God could show you the dragon. Something that's invisible, right? Yeah. I show you the invisible. I give you spiritual healing and courage and peace and strength and hope. Okay? And this is my face in the clouds on Easter. And when you see this, it's intriguing, it's fascinating, you get caught up in it like a good song or a good book. It takes you away from your current circumstances for a minute and to another world, to another dimension, right? It takes you away. You get caught up in it like a good book. You're caught up with me in the clouds. When you see these things begin to happen, look up. You will see me coming in the clouds. I'm coming. Trust me, I'm coming. But you will see me coming in the clouds. Yeah, well, here I am coming in the clouds. When you see me coming in the clouds, you will get caught up. Yeah, like a good book, huh? You are caught up with me in the clouds. I like to meet my family, but I can't go out there physically because I'm almost paralyzed here. But I can meet you in the air of uh, live stream. Okay, the ethos, the air of the internet, right? Okay, so I meet my family in the air of cyberspace. Okay, so there you go, cyberspace. So you're caught up with me in the clouds. We met in the air. You are technically raptured, but that word rapture is not in the Bible. So many people are going to be disappointed when it's not post-tribulation, pre-tribulation rapture, this rapture, that. No, it's happening right now. Everybody's like, oh, it should be happening any minute. Well, yeah, it is. It's happening every day right now. If you just look up and get caught up in the clouds, you get caught up with me in the clouds, all of a sudden, you know now. There's no guessing or doubting. It's confirmed. You are now complete. I complete your faith into a new realm of knowing. See, it's lack of knowledge that my children perish. They don't know. Well, you know. You also now know your identity. That's what this is about. It's not about, hey, look at me, look what I discovered, look what I can do, blah, blah. No. This is about your identity and how I can help. Okay? You guys are doing awesome, by the way, on your work. I can feel it. All right, I'm like one big raw exposed nerve. Like Dennis ripped a tooth out, and there's just this throbbing, bleeding, exposed nerve with cold air blowing on it. All right, I can feel every little breeze, every little thought, every little thing. And some of you guys are just having so much success at this, and I'm just thankful that you're finding the peace that transcends your circumstances, and that's why you're coming back, because you indeed find peace in this. It brings courage, strength, hope, because of who I am, okay? Not trying to say, hey, look at me, I'm all that or this. I'm just this regular old guy. You know, I was going about my life, just doing my normal thing, and then all this crazy stuff starts happening to me. And then I got a mission, and I accept that mission. Even though it's an impossible mission, well, I took it on anyways because nothing is impossible with Jesus. Do you get that? Good. Keep doing your salvage work. Bring the light. Shine this light from your face into other people's lives, okay? When you're joyous and happy and you're intermingling with other people, you're bringing that light, that hope into their life. Even when you don't see it or know it, you still are, okay? All real. This is because I love you guys, and I'm trying to bring you guys, at least give me 5 minutes of your time, the gift that I have that, cost me dearly. Okay? And I like to share it with my friends, with my family, people I love, that'll give me 5 minutes of their time for their own good. It's not, hey, I'm that dude. Because the moment you say, I'm so-and-so, you're considered a lunatic, huh? What if you did come back and said, hey, I'm Jesus, and then nobody would believe it because this whole society's programmed to anybody who does that's mentally ill. And I don't even say that stuff. I tell you, hey, I've captured angels on my security cameras. You want to see? Hey, look, I've captured some stuff in the clouds too. You want to see? I've captured some miracles. These are real miracles, okay? You're seeing real miracles. They look odd because they're real miracles. And I want you to understand something else. There is only one person who can show you a real miracle. There's only one person who can show you a real miracle, and I'm showing you real miracles, aren't I? I love you. I miss you. Until my next show, I will be back. I'm already back. And you guys are here, caught up with me in the clouds. We met in the air. We had a nice time. We learned some spiritual tools that you can use in your life and pass on to others so they can salvage their day and not fall into that pit of self-pity. And then you, with new eyes, reborn, you can see the deception that's going on around the world. You can see right through it now, can't you? The more you lean on me, the more you trust in me, the more this works for you. I love you guys. I miss you guys. What was the other one? I think that was it. Anyways, I had another one I was going to say here too. We did the caught up live now. Oh, well, I'll think of it tomorrow night. I'm losing my marbles from sleep deprivation, so I should probably take a little nap and recover a little bit. So until my next show, though, I will be back. I am already back, and I'm still to come too. All right. The signs are all over the place. You're seeing the repercussions of my presence. Okay, just my mere presence blesses you, and then you understand your true identity. Okay, this is your rock. This is your foundation on which to lean on, and also to build on. Okay, you're doing well. You see how important the salvage work is each day. So going into the future, as things ramp up, you're going to be well equipped where other people will have nothing. All right, I love you guys. I miss you guys. And until my next show, I will be back. I am already back. Can't you tell?